In the affluent Boston suburb of Brookline, Dr. Amir Voss was the kind of man everyone admired. A brilliant 38-year-old neurologist with a growing private practice, he was the picture of success. Married to Nora, a soft-spoken children's librarian, with 2 young daughters and a golden Labrador named Baxter, the Voss family appeared pristine, like something out of a magazine. That perfection shattered on the morning of February 6, 2022. Dr. Voss was found dead in his clinic, slumped at his desk. His face was pale, his coffee mug half full. No signs of forced entry, no trauma. The only clue, a half-empty vial of sodium thiopental, a powerful anesthetic, tucked into the desk drawer, something he never used in his line of work. At first glance, it looked like suicide, but nothing about Amir's life suggested despair. His practice was booming. There were no debts, no known affairs. Toxicology confirmed the cause of death, an overdose of sodium thiopental injected intravenously. But investigators weren't ready to call it suicide. Not yet, because one detail didn't fit. The needle marks were on his non-dominant hand, and the angle of injection suggested it was done by someone else. Security footage from the clinic showed the last person to enter the building that night, a woman in a red wool coat. She arrived at 8:46 p.m., nearly an hour after closing time, and left just before 10. Her face was obscured. The cameras caught only her side profile, and the car she drove away in had stolen plates. No name was logged in the appointment system. Detectives scoured Dr. Voss's patient records, looking for anyone who fit the profile. They found nothing obvious. But his receptionist mentioned something odd. About a month earlier, Dr. Voss had begun taking in a series of off-the-books consultations after hours. Cash only, no records. They found her name by accident, tucked into a pile of scrap notes. Leah Ambrose. Leah Ambrose, 34, was a freelance art restorer from Cambridge. Her record was clean, but her life wasn't. 2 years earlier, she had been diagnosed with a rare neurodegenerative disorder, one that would slowly rob her of muscle control, speech, and eventually her life. She had been to countless doctors. Most told her there was little they could do. Then she found Dr. Voss. He offered an experimental treatment, illegal, unapproved, and expensive. She paid thousands in cash for injections and off-label drugs. And at first, she said, she believed in him, until the seizures started. Detectives brought Leah in for questioning. She didn't deny being at the clinic that night. She admitted confronting him, but claimed she didn't kill him. I begged him to fix what he did to me. He looked me in the eyes and said, "It's not my fault your body's falling apart." That man wasn't a healer. He was a salesman in a white coat. Still, there was no proof she injected him. No fingerprints, no video, just her anger and motive. But Leah wasn't the only person who had reason to want Amir Voss gone. A forensic sweep of Dr. Voss's computer uncovered a hidden, encrypted folder. Inside were hundreds of files, fake clinical trial documents, altered medical records, and false patient consent forms. Dr. Voss had been running an unlicensed trial program, offering desperate patients experimental compounds, sometimes placebos, sometimes toxic cocktails not even in FDA trials. And he'd been paid handsomely for it by a shell company linked to a European biotech firm, one currently under investigation for human rights violations. Dr. Voss had made nearly $4 million in off-the-books transfers over 5 years. Even more disturbing, one of the patients in his fake trial program had died the previous year. Officially, it was listed as natural causes. But her family, when contacted, revealed they had no idea she was ever part of a clinical trial. The case cracked open. Investigators turned their attention to Nora Voss, Amir's wife. For weeks, she had been publicly grieving, composed, cooperative, quiet. But when confronted with the financials, she broke. She knew everything. "I found out a year ago," she confessed. "He said it was for research. He said it was legal, just not public yet. But I knew something was wrong. And when that woman died, he said it wasn't his fault. He was always saying it wasn't his fault." Detectives asked the obvious. "Did she kill him?" "No," she said, "but I wanted him dead." Then she revealed something no one expected. Leah Ambrose wasn't a stranger. She was Nora's half-sister. Same mother, different fathers. Estranged for years. Nora had reached out when Leah got sick. She introduced her to Amir, convinced he could help. She never expected what would happen next. "I gave her to him," Nora whispered. "I gave my sister to a man I didn't really know." 2 weeks later, a syringe was found behind a filing cabinet in Dr. Voss's office. Wiped clean, but a partial palm print remained. Forensic techs matched it to a third person. Not Nora, not Leah. It was Simon Kerr, a former pharmaceutical researcher and one of Amir's colleagues from medical school. Simon had lost his license 5 years ago for falsifying trial results. He'd been quietly funneling drugs to Amir for his trials, in exchange for a cut. But when Amir threatened to cut him out, Simon decided it was over. He confessed in a deal to avoid life in prison. "I didn't do it for justice," he told police. "I did it because he was about to bury me while he walked away clean." Dr. Amir Voss's death was first seen as a tragedy, then a mystery. In the end, it was the final act in a web of greed, betrayal, and desperation. One that spanned patients, family, and old friends. Leah eventually recovered enough to testify. She still struggles with motor control, but her voice is strong. "I trusted him with my life," she told the courtroom. "He wasn't a doctor. He was a man who thought he could play God." Nora moved out of Brookline with her daughters and changed their names. The clinic was shut down. The building sits abandoned, still bearing the faint lettering of a name that once inspired trust. And in the quiet halls of justice, it remains one of the strangest cases in Massachusetts medical history because sometimes the killer isn't the one with the gun or the syringe. Sometimes it's the man who wears a white coat and decides who lives and who suffers.